Hey friends, today your assignment is to do these binomial expansions. So yesterday we went over the process of how to do this. There's two main things. You need to have Pascal's triangle in front of you, and then you need to know the pattern that goes on with the exponents. So first thing let's do is create the triangle. So you already have it in your notes, but I'm going to need something in front of me, so we're going to create it just now. Okay, so I know at the very top of the triangle always starts with a 1. The front and the back of each row is also going to start with a 1. So starting with the second row is where I'm going to have to fill in the middle. And what we do is we add up these diagonals. 1 plus 1 gives me 2. And then I'll end with a 1. Okay, next row I would start with a 1. Adding these diagonals, 1 plus 2 is 3. 2 plus 1 is 3. And then I'd end with a 1. Next row would be 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. Next one is 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1. And this would just keep going until whatever you need to expand. I'm just going until I run out of space, but this can go basically forever. Okay, one thing to remember about this is that it actually starts with row 0. Like that first one is row 0. Then it would be row 1, row 2, row 3, so on. Okay, so when we're doing our expansions, whatever power that they tell us to bring this binomial up to, you're going to have to look at that row depending on what power they tell you. Okay, so we can remember how to do this. Let's go ahead and do one of these problems together. Let's do number 3. So this one has the smallest exponent, but both of its terms have numbers included in it. So this one's going to be big numbers when you put it together. Okay, so number 3 wants us to raise that binomial to the 4th power. So the first thing that you need to find is what is the 4th row of Pascal's triangle. So I'm going to write 4th row of the triangle. So I'm going to go back to my list. Here's my 4th row. I'm going to need these numbers right here. 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. Okay, 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. And those are going to be my coefficients of each term. Okay, when you're looking at this binomial, you're going to separate it into 2 spots. This first term, that 3x, that is going to be our A term. And then negative 4, you have to make sure you include the minus sign in front of it, is going to be our B term. Okay, so when we start expanding, we're going to start with whatever coefficient that the triangle tells me I need to start with. So I'm going to start with 1. Then starting with this first term, so with our A term is 3x here, we're going to raise that to the highest power that we can. In this case, it's going to be 4. Then we're going to get our second term, which is the negative 4. So the second term right here, and we're going to raise it to the lowest power that we can, which is 0. So this is going to turn into my first term. We'll come back and simplify that later, but for now, I just want to get the whole pattern down. Okay, then next up, so add. Now we do the second coefficient, the second number from the list on Pascal's triangle. So start with a 4. Then our A term, the 3x. We started at the 4th power. We're going to decrease, and now it's going to be at the 3rd power. Our B term, the negative 4, we started at the 0 power, but now we're going to increase and go up to the 1 power. Okay, now for our next term, we're going to keep that pattern going. So I need to start off with that middle number, which is 6. Our a term, 3x, is going to go down by a power, so we're going to square it. And our b term, -4, is going to go up a power. Okay, we have 2 more to go. Our next term is going to start with a 4. 3x is now only raised to the 1 power. And -4 is now going to be raised to the 3rd power. And then last one up is that 1. So I have +1. 3x is now going to be to the 0 power. And -4 is now up to the 4th power. So let me zoom out so we can see the whole thing. Okay, so just to double check, all the numbers that I wrote in purple, those match up with Pascal's triangle, so 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. Then what I wrote in blue, that is the first term of the binomial, the 3x, and it should be going down by a power. So it started at 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 0. And then in green, I wrote our b term, the -4. We start at 0, so -4 to the 0. And then each time we go up by 1. So 1 power, 2 power, 3 power, 4th power. So we have everything all written out. So now the hard part, now the simplifying. So this is where you're going to have to do some multiplication. In class, I mentioned that you should be able to do this by hand, even if you have to do your work on the side. But for today's assignment, I'm okay with you guys using a calculator. So let me zoom in and we'll go one by one for each term. So this first term, I'm going to get rid of a few things right off the bat. So 1 times anything, it's just going to be the other thing. So that 1 is not really going to help us very much. The other thing is -4 to the 0 power. Anything to the 0 power also becomes a 1. So I might as well not pay attention to it. So the only thing that's going to affect us here is this first part. That power is going to go to each thing inside of the parentheses. So really this should be 3 to the 4th, x to the 4th. So now the hard part is, what is 3 to the 4th power? Well, if I'm doing my math correctly, 3 to the 4th power comes out to 81. And then x to the 4th, that's a variable, can't simplify it anymore, so we're going to leave it as x to the 4th. So this whole first part got simplified to that. Okay, now let's do the second term. So this one's going to be a much bigger number because I have more things at play here. So this 3 needs to go to both things inside the parentheses. So when it comes to numbers, I have 4. So I have this 4 right here, times 3 to the 3rd power. So 3 to the 3rd power, that's where that's coming from. And then times -4. So this I'm just going to put into the calculator. I don't want to kind of struggle too much. And I am getting -432. So now next up I'll have -432. And then my variable is x to the 3rd power. So all of this got simplified to that. Okay, next one up. Again, remember that that second power needs to go to both things in the parentheses. So we have 6, so this first number, times 3 to the 2nd power, because I have 3 to the 2nd power, times -4 to the 2nd power. Okay, and now I'm just going to put all of that into the calculator, and I get +864. And then I need a variable to go with it, which is this right here, x to the 2nd power. Okay, then let's do the next one. I have 4, so the original 4 from right here. Then I have 3 to the 1 power, so I'm just going to write times 3 times -4 to the 3rd power. Make sure when you put that in the calculator that you do put that in parentheses. Okay, so I'm going to type this in, and I get -768. So I'll have minus 768x. It's x to the 1 power. I'm just going to leave that little 1 power off. Okay, and then our last term. So again, I'm going to cancel out things that are easy. So that 1 is not going to help us very much. 3x to the 0 power becomes a 1. So again, that's not going to be very useful. So really all I need to figure out is what is -4 to the 4th power. So if I type that in, I get positive 256. Okay, so it's kind of spaced out weird, but that is the final answer if you just put it all together. My final answer is going to be 81x to the 4th minus 432x to the 3rd plus 864x squared minus 768x plus 256. So I know this seems like a lot, but it is a lot easier than the alternative, which would be to actually multiply this out 4 times. So this is the shortcut. On Schoology, so once you finish all 4 of these problems, on Schoology, I'm going to have you type in your answer in addition to uploading a picture. It's not going to grade it automatically. It is going to wait for me to grade it. So don't be scared if you turn it in and it says 0. It's because it's waiting for me. But now I want you guys to try the other 3 problems. Looking at it, it goes up to the 8th power, so you are going to need to get all the way up to row 8 here. But other than that, just follow your pattern and use your calculator. I believe it's number 2 that's going to have some pretty big numbers that are in the thousands because 7 to the 5th power is pretty big. But that's it. Send me a message if you have any questions over anything.